Joining us, MS Now senior reporter Josh Einiger and president of the Association of Flight Attendants, CWA, Sarah Nelson. Thank you guys both for being here. Josh, last I heard, the Trump administration was going to bail out Spirit. What happened?
Well, they tried to negotiate with the debtors and the creditors and those who actually had their skin in the game, and they just couldn't reach a deal. The offer that was on the table from the White House in the end would have had the White House owning something like 90% or a maximum of 90% of the equity of whatever company emerged from bankruptcy. And this company, it's a lot. And this company was so deeply leveraged that all the players that had skin in the game weren't going to get anything out of it in the end. And so they just didn't reach an agreement. And late Friday night, early Saturday morning, those flights, the last flights in the air landed. And that was that.
What happens to all those planes?
Well, the planes, actually, most of them were not owned by Spirit. The newer ones, the ones with any value, were owned by leasing companies. So right now, actually, some are being flown across the country to the desert, and at some point they'll be sold to other carriers. But one of the issues here, Katie, is that there was nothing to buy. The airline was so deeply leveraged. Most of the planes were leased. Maybe one of the more valuable things they had were slots, which actually have value at airports like LaGuardia Airport. But even that, it was hard to make a case for other airlines to step in at the last minute.
17,000 people lost their jobs. It's a lot of people. A lot of people concentrated in the state of Florida as well, which is meaningful for the midterms.
Absolutely. Meaningful for the midterms. And there's been a big blame game, by the way, on the part of the Trump administration, trying to put the blame on the Biden administration, which blocked a merger between JetBlue and Spirit a couple of years ago. But if you look at Spirit's own filings, and if you look at just the graph, I think we can show of jet fuel prices over the last 2 years, it just skyrocketed, of course, as soon as the war started. And JetBlue's own filings say that that was the final nail in the coffin. And earlier today, Katie, I spoke with a flight attendant who had worked for Spirit for 10 years and is now one of the thousands of people who have to start over from the very beginning. Here's what she had to say.
Even the way that other flight attendants and pilots from other companies have treated us through this whole entire process, it just shows you how special this industry is and how connected. We always say united by wings, but it's really true. So I think that it's going to be something that me and the rest of my family and friends at Spirit are going to definitely be trying to get back into the industry and get our wings back.
Sarah, it's a perfect segue to you. Let's talk about the members of yours who lost their jobs. Is there an easy path for them to get back into the industry?
Well, Colleen, who you just saw talking there, is one of them. And I know so many faces, and they are all facing not just losing their jobs, they're losing their medical insurance, they're losing their ties to their friends and their family, really. They did something extraordinary there at Spirit together. And right up to the last minute, when that last plane touched down in Dallas-Fort Worth late on Friday night, they were there on the front lines trying to make this happen. There was a plan to emerge from bankruptcy, and that got disrupted with these fuel costs and the war. And that's really what happened here. And it is so difficult to have all of these people who are so tied to the job that they love now be so disoriented by losing it just overnight.
You just heard Josh talk about the political blame game here. We also showed that graph of just how costly jet fuel has gotten. And just for the record, Spirit has not been operating well for a long time, but this certainly the nail in the coffin. What do you think of the blame game, though, the politics of this?
I think that it is a waste of time. I think that people need material help right now. There are people that I talked to someone who is a dual income Spirit flight attendant with another Spirit flight attendant. They've lost their health care, they've lost their paycheck, and they have 3 special needs kids that they're trying to take care of. These are real people who need help right now. And we have asked the administration not just to jump in and save Spirit here, which would have been so good for these 17,000 workers. It would have been good for all Americans, because we show that over the next year, there's going to be an additional $1 billion put on consumers, and many people will just not be able to fly because of this. But right now, what we need is material assistance for these workers who are now on the unemployment line. As you said, many of them in Florida, $275 a week for some of the top earners. How are they supposed to live on that without health insurance? We need those health care plans extended. We need to prioritize paying the last paychecks and all the benefits in the bankruptcy court. We need the administration to step in here with some real material assistance. And frankly, if they wanted to get that deal done to keep Spirit flying, they could have, and they didn't. So that is what we know today. And I don't care about the blame. What I want is focus on the workers. And if we have a lot of people who want to help, if people want to contribute and help to Spirit flight attendants, our disaster relief fund is open at afacwa.org/DRF.
Why do you think the administration could have gotten a deal done? Spirit was already having trouble. There was also a lot of discontent among Americans that the administration shouldn't be getting so heavily involved. And I mean, they've already been criticized for other moves where they're getting involved in private industry. Was it a good idea to do it here, even though I know you represent a lot of people who are really suffering right now?
I want to be really clear, Katie. So they already bailed out Steel and Intel when it wasn't a time of crisis, and that was for their benefit. This would have been about a time of crisis that, frankly, they created, we have a long history of the government stepping in and helping out companies in a time of crisis to bridge through to another day. And that's what could have been done here. $500 million to invest in the American people, not just the 17,000 people who are working there, but all of the millions of people who fly on Spirit. What we've seen is over the last year, 23 markets that Spirit has pulled out of. The total revenue in those markets has stayed the same. The passenger count has gone down by 20%. Fares have gone up by 23%. So what this means is with Spirit going out of business is that air travel becomes further and further out of reach for ordinary Americans. As we go into the Memorial Day weekend, a lot of people are just choosing not to travel. They're not going to spend in those hotels. They're not going to spend in the places they were going to travel to because Spirit went out of business. So this is going to have a long time ramifications, and it would have been a really smart investment by the government to invest in the American people. That's what this was about. It wasn't just about propping up a company.
Yeah. All right, Sarah Nelson, good points. Appreciate your time. Josh Einiger, thank you as well. Coming up next.